We're live. Hello. Hello. All right. Looks like it's working, so I'm gonna go with that. How's everyone doing? Welcome to the stream. Kind of letting people filter in for a moment. And we will get started. This thing on? This thing working? Do you hear me? Should be. We'll find out soon. Anyway, welcome one and all to the stream. My name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. And I'm streaming right now because Dungeon Alchemist is actually currently on sale on the Steam store, which it's a rare occasion that we're actually discounted like this. We pretty much don't have a say in when we get discounts like this. Steam lets us know. So in this case, Steam has alerted us to a discount. And so we are 20% off right now. So great deal. And that's region specific. So depending on the price in your region, 20% off. So I don't really want to say, oh, it's this much right now, unfortunately. But welcome one and all across all the platforms that we're live. We are live on Twitch, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Steam, etc. If you have any questions related to Dungeon Alchemist or to what you see in front of you, please let me know. And I'll do my best to accommodate. Okay, I'm just looking for something, sorry. Where is it? Should be here. Right, well, I guess it'll go up when it goes up. Anyway, how's everyone doing? How has your week been? What you been up to? Holy cow, we have 135 people right now on TikTok. Hi, TikTok. I don't want to scare you away, but I just want to say welcome. If you have any questions about Dungeon Alchemist, let me know. Hope y'all can hear me. Haven't really got any confirmation on any platform that anyone can hear me at the moment, so that's a little bit unsettling, but I'll deal. I'll deal. All right, moving on. Let's take a look at this map, which I pulled up special for this event. This is actually a grand theater that was designed by a very talented creator in our community named Sack. He makes very intricately detailed maps, often sharing them on Steam Workshop, so you may be familiar with his works. Thank you, Coco, much appreciated. But, I was worried there that I was screaming into the void that my mic wasn't working. Hope you're well. What you been up to? Not to, force you into a conversation, but... Hey, DC17, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome. Welcome to the Damn Fam. Wow, 58 likes and 52 people right now on TikTok. That's very awesome. We're actually getting really close to, like, some major milestones on TikTok, so I'm thinking of starting to do some giveaways on that platform. Like, copies of Dungeon Alchemist. Anyway, moving on. So a lot of detail went into this. You have little back rooms here where they're making, you know, various clothing, set design stuff. Here we have dressing rooms, a little loo, makeup stations. Looks like a treasury. So like a whole backstage, functional backstage area with props and stuff getting ready to be set up and staged. I am great, Coco. Thank you for asking. You're working on a map for Patreon? That's fantastic. So, I am randomly streaming because we just happen to be on sale, which is kind of a rare occurrence. So I wanted to be available and answer questions and whatnot and provide guidance during the, during this, point in time. Oh, thank you, Artful Darkness. How are you doing? Luca, you need to try it ASAP. So Luca on Facebook says, I didn't try the new update yet. And I'm just like, Macaulay Culkin shocked. Because it is so amazing. Yeah, definitely check it out. There's lots of cool stuff. In fact, let's check out some of the things you can do. We're going to bounce over to a new map. Let's go to one of the new biomes to start, seeing what you have here available. So we'll do Bay Plain. We're going to do flat, dense vegetation, and we'll put a river. Let's generate that. Hey, Stacey. So we are on sale, so I figured, hey, I might as well hop on and stream and, answer questions and whatnot. So one of the, largest new additions is the fact that you can now shape rooms much more freely. And by that I mean, if you wish, you can make rooms with diagonal walls or round walls, both convex and concave walls, which, is great in the amount of freedom you can put towards your designs. You can make perfectly round structures and all sorts of things in between. We also added the ability to undo your steps while you're making a floor plan. And this really gives you a lot of freedom in designing your floor plans. If you make a mistake, just undo. Hey, Artful Darkness, you're having lunch? What kind of lunch are you eating? I am doing great. I am just hanging out and, showcasing some of the new stuff that we released on the 12th. So it's been less than a week since this content was released. You can now rotate rooms before you generate them, which is awesome. And you can also raise rooms up and down. So notice the floor plan is adjusting. I'm going to put that up to 1.5 and then we'll hit generate. Here. Just gonna notice the door can be on like a round edge. You can put it on a flat edge too. Windows and doors can move all around the round edges and they dynamically reshape to that edge. Throw a staircase here. Disable collisions. You can see that in the wall. So down. It's there. Let's erase those. It out a little bit, and then we'll just put the stair right up to the door. And boom. A booyah roll call. Okay, that looks really good actually. I just want to incredibly clean. I'm gonna move it over a bit, and now we got a staircase. Hey, Seisu. Can you keep an eye on Steam and let me know when the feed goes live? I think it's waiting on approval from Steam moderators. I'm like trying to see it there. Oh, you're having a sandwich, Artful Darkness? That sounds delicious. Delicious. All right. So now we've got like a quaint little wizard tower here. I'm gonna grab this tree. Okay. Go. It's not clipping through. Let's add one more of these windows. Yes. Nice little wizard study, essentially, with a hearth, some windows, a doorway. Nothing too fancy, but also nice. I really love how easy it was to shape this, raise it up, and then just attach a stair. Very quaint, simple, efficient. No worries. Thank you, Seisu. Understandable. It is a random stream, so I'm not expecting you to, dedicate a bunch of time if you can't. So, I mean, it's very simple to make a map, in a mere moments and be able to export this and use it for your fantasy-based TTRPG campaigns. With that in mind, there is a lot of utility available in the new update, and both optimization too. Some things that come to mind is the over 600 new objects that were added in the most recent update. So just 6 days ago, this update was added for free. And anyone who owns Dungeon Alchemist gets this update and all future updates for the foreseeable future for free. Essentially, we plan to release a major update probably every 4 to 8 months, each of which is themed. And they are based around stretch goals from our Kickstarter campaign, which, was over 2 years ago. So essentially, we are following those Kickstarter stretch goals as our roadmap, and then we supplement that content with extra. Let's see here. Don't really understand Steam. So it's like, why? Oh well. Darn it. Frustrating as all. Well, it is what it is. I'll just deal with it later. I just keep looking at, like, my broadcast. Just please stand by. Please click on the broadcast. No. Yeah. What I really like to do in this biome is to go into the terrain tool and drop in some molten gold. Looks really neat and matches really well with the whimsical environment. You can play with the light filters too, and really adds a lot of oomph. This feels like you're in like a black light, a mini golf type sitch. And then here looks, I feel very, very fun with this color. The one place I want the stream to be live the most is not live, it's Steam, and it's just frustrating me. I guess I'll get over it. Alright. Anyway. So, have any of you played in a Fey setting? Feywild type setting? Do you think this biome could be useful to you? As DMs, have you run Feywild campaigns or settings? I'd love to hear your feedback on this. Add a few more rooms over here, see what we can come up with. But a rupee-shaped witch hut. Interesting. That's an interesting concept, Luca. I've never heard of anyone doing that before. That's pretty cool. Do your players enjoy it, or does the table enjoy it, I should add? That is incredibly neat. Pop a token in here and see what it looks like. Foxfolk. Mage. Cool. The thatch work is very clean. Whoa. Looks really cool. Jump. Jump. Very cool. It's fun. I enjoy it. The cinematic and first-person modes really let you dive into the map and kind of just see it from a different perspective. A great way to kind of check the navigability of a map in like the 5-foot space of a token. It is also a very neat way to, record content or take screenshots to give as handouts. Like nice immersive handouts like this are pretty cool. Little moon in the background of like a beautiful Fey shot. Looks clutch if I'm not lying. Roble, it is indeed live. Been live since the 12th, my friend. How have you been? Chat feed, I gotta check that. Yeah, you do. I'm sorry, Acid in TikTok. What are you talking about? Weird question. I commented a few weeks ago that my party fell apart due to a lose. Is there a Discord? Yeah, there is a Dungeon Alchemist Discord. I don't think I can drop the link in chat, however. If you go to our website, which is, there's a link in our profile, the Discord is at the bottom there. A bunch of pertinent links. Gorvidal, it's someone over on TikTok where you can't share links easily, unfortunately. Their chat just won't allow it. It won't even allow me to share a link of my, like, in my own chat. It is what it is. Anyway, really enjoying that view. It's clean. Okay. Global, do you want to see some really cool skyboxes? You go into the asset browser where it links up to Steam Workshop. Our friend here, oh wow. 350 viewers on Steam. Holy cow. Why can't I? Oh, there I can. I can totally see the chat feed now. Steam, I see you. I see you. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you very much. I didn't know why it wasn't working before, but now it is. Much appreciated, Seisu. Goodness. Okay, let's try separating Skybox. It's 2 words. Let's see if there's... Yeah, this one's neat. I thought there was another one. Anyway. Let's download this one. Earlier we had like 70 viewers on TikTok, but TikTok is a harsh mistress, it would appear. So this skybox was added on the workshop by Dallas RT. You may know him as Asmodeus in our Discord, or Dallas RT on Steam. He loves to share assets, prolific asset sharer. And yeah, so if you take a look here, now we have an even more elaborate skybox that kind of matches the color scheming. I find that very cool. So cool. This is really easy to do and perfect for first-person shots. While you're, or, you know, like cinematic shots. All right, so got a cat fur on my face. Okay, got it. You know, I've done that before with DA. I have an app on my Quest 2 headset called Virtual Desktop, and it allows you to access your computer remotely and control it through the VR headset, and it's like the screen is the VR headset. So it would be like what I'm seeing here is what I see in the VR headset. And you can even make it look like you're looking at a massive theater screen. So it has like a kind of forced perspective to make it feel like you're sitting in a stadium. It's pretty cool. Now, it's not full immersive VR, but, you know, nonetheless, it's quite awesome. What's the green objects for? So Urkow on Steam asks that. That's a really good question. Let me open up a new map and I'll show you some of the things you can do with the green object. The green objects are kind of blank slates that allow you to program information, images into them. They're called abstract objects for those just tuning in, and they're located under the object panel right here on the left toolbar, and you click abstract. is a bunch of green kind of blank objects. Using these, you can just kind of use them in a lot of different ways, actually. You can leave them as this like blank green. You can change the color. It's like a whole assortment of colors, right? Alternatively, there is essentially a bunch of templates for these. Hey, Highland Lass, how are you? Bunch of templates for these various objects on our website. Each one of the objects has a little icon right here. You can click it, goes to our website. There's templates for each object. And each of these, if you look at them carefully, we kind of zoom in here. Notice how each template has green area and non-green area. The green area, think of it, go. Green means go, right? It's the safe space in like a stencil. If you've ever used a stencil, whether you're like in elementary school or you paint or whatever, usually you put the stencil over something and then you paint, and it only allows the paint to go through, or the drawing to go through the stenciled safe area. So think of this green area as a safe stenciled area, and everything else you would essentially leave blank. Each of these templates, they're all the exact same size. They're 1024 pixels by 1024 pixels. So 1024 by 1024. That must remain the exact same, and it's best to work in the PNG format because you can leave this area blank, these like dead spaces. And notice here it says top, side, side. That's illustrating kind of an unfolded, imagine like a cereal box, or you know, something like a cardboard box that you cut apart and unfolded. That's essentially what this is. Now, translating that into Dungeon Alchemist, let's insert an image here. I've got a few on tap I can use. Someone made a door that's an abstract. So it's essentially a neat kind of custom door. Now, this was a great option or alternative before you could import custom 3D models. About, 8 months ago, we added this function here, the asset importer. So you can import custom 3D models, STL, FBX, GLTF/GLB models, and those can be shared on the workshop. So there's like over 4,200 models on the workshop, varying in, all sorts of styles. There's stuff that goes into anime, stuff that goes into futuristic, cyberpunk, sci-fi, cultural, and fantasy aesthetics. So ultimately allows you to expand your options in building. Well, Urcal, right now is the best time. It's on sale for 20% off. And if you have any questions related to other things in DA, please let me know. Another green thing that we added, we actually added a green screen biome. So what that means is you can actually, this might be a little bright, just warning everyone. You can draw buildings or whatever on this environment, right? Or place objects on this environment. So for instance, let's say I placed this drill on here, right? And then I could export this drill playing and make a tile of it and use this as like an effect on another map. Alternatively, you could draw like a building on it. So let's say I drew like a wizard tower over here. So you have like a green screen backdrop for a building. Tell it's so big. Anyway, moving on. I am green as all. Should have turned off my camera. Let's go to the Fade plane again. Ugh. So this is one I exported at a previous point of this drill. So essentially I've made like a cool tile that I could either kind of remove this green backdrop in a video editor, or I could superimpose something else. But essentially the plan is to make this a tile that goes onto like other maps very quickly. Anyway, man, we just got like 40, 50 likes in the last minute. Thank you so much, TikTok, for all the likes. Much appreciated, much appreciated. By the way, my name is Mac. I am the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. That's the application you see in front of you. It's a map-making utility and immersion tool for primarily fantasy-based tabletop gaming. And it's available on Steam right now at 20% off. I just wanted to let you know that's perfect for designing maps for games like D&D or Pathfinder. And it allows you to either, build maps and then print them, or you can get them printed onto a neoprene game map from our partner Kraken War Games. Alternatively, you can export it as a digital file and take it to like a local print shop, get it printed as a poster. Or you can take the digital file and put it on like a TV tabletop or projector tabletop if you have one at home. So imagine you have a TV or projector tabletop for your game setting. You put the JPEG or the MP4 or WebM file, you can loop the animated video, and it will play on a loop for your players in a top-down, with or without a grid if you want. So in addition to print, our printing partner, Home Print, or digital options for TV tabletop or print shops, we also offer direct exports for an assortment of virtual tabletops. So VTTs for short, I'm going to say, from here on out. Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, Above VTT, and then also support with the universal VTT format, which it supports dozens of different platforms currently. But basically, you have a lot of different options. We try to be as system agnostic as we can and allow you as many points of export as possible. So whatever works for your tabletop and your players and your session. Just want to remind you, if you do have any questions related to this content, please let me know and I will gladly answer it. Honestly, I'm just excited about this stream today. One moment, I'm getting a message from the bowels. All right. I'm just typing something in chat on Steam to see if it works. Alrighty. What's also cool about Dungeon Alchemist is you have lots of ways to customize it. So for instance, this grid that you see here, if you use the grid, you can set different color schemes, which, you could go high contrast if you prefer. You can also adjust the transparency of that grid. You can change it between square and hex. Now, these are optional uses. You don't have to use the grid. In fact, you can export without it and then use a grid in your virtual tabletop of choice, which if you're playing on one of those, we recommend that you use theirs. Ava Lore on TikTok, thank you so much for the kind words. Much appreciated. How's TikTok doing today, by the way? Let's hear how you're doing. And if you have any questions about this program, please let me know. I'm here to answer any questions and provide guidance. So we have a Fey Plain map here. This is dense vegetation. I'm going to adjust this and we'll change it from dense to, let's go to a crystal forest and see what that looks like. So using our Azure Forte, hey, thank you for confirming, much appreciated. Hey, Valor, I am doing great. I'm fantastic. I'm just excited to, be streaming today and to discuss our sale, which is rare that it happens. We only get a one or two a year. So I like, capitalizing on it and making sure people are aware of it. Um, this crystal forest just looks stunning. Did you do no border export for Coco? Or did you do normal border or small border? Tech Mario, this is Dungeon Alchemist. It is a map making utility available on Steam, and it allows you to build essentially beautiful fantasy based maps for your tabletop campaigns. Some people use it to kind of relax and build maps, kind of like The Sims. But I've been told by many people, it's kind of like Sims meets Baldur's Gate. It's essentially a map-making utility that allows you to better immerse your players into your tabletop campaigns. Depending on the border you exported with, it can make a lot of difference. Tech Mario, thank you so much for that follow. Much appreciated. It's new. Very new. Just got added. Anyway, you're getting it? Well, thank you. We are on sale right now, so much appreciated. It's a good time to get it. So do you play D&D? Do you play Pathfinder? Let's hear it, crowd. What's your game of choice for tabletop gaming? Whether it's fantasy, sci-fi, cyberpunk, let's hear your favorite. You play D&D, Ava? Nice. Are you the GM of your table, the game master, DM, dungeon master, I guess, as they would say? Urcal plays D&D? Nice. D&D and game dev? Well, that's awesome. What kind of game development do you do? So let's check out a different forest variation. We have the mushroom forest. So the mushroom forest is easily my favorite. It just looks so vibrant. And I love setting this color filter because it feels like I'm in like a, I don't know. Have any of you ever gone to like neon golf, like where it's like low light mini golf? And it just is like, stuff like this. Urcow, I mean, tons of themes and room types. We'll go over it just momentarily. Roguelike in Unity. Interesting. I feel like I've heard of roguelike. Very cool, Tech Mario. That's awesome. We also use Unity for our development of Dungeon Alchemist. So, Dungeon Alchemist currently offers an assortment of biomes. If you look in the terrain section, so 2 of the biomes are designed to be kind of more of a focus on the interior. The dark parchment and green screen biomes essentially allow you to highlight interiors or a focus on objects that you may want to highlight. So they don't really have exterior or like any terrain, so I won't count those 2. But not counting those 2, you have snow, skeletal plains, jungle, grasslands, forest, Fey Plain, which is where we're at right now, desert, caves, and badlands. Each biome is unique in its own right, and they all are very, very fun and have a lot of diversity within them, like subtypes of vegetation, elevation, things like that. I'm assuming, Lionosaur, you are French? Just a quick assumption. Era of Eden, how you doing? Belgian? Okay. So we've been getting some reports of this the last few days, and our devs are looking into it and looking for a hot fix. There was some new functionality added in the most recent update, and it messed with some of the key bindings. So actually, at this moment, there is a Discord thread in our Discord related to this. And our lead dev, Carl, who is also Belgian, is essentially working on the problem. Not Todd on Steam says, how taxing is this on your computer? I've heard people say it takes forever to load and whatnot. So, boy, do I have good news for you. We just actually released an update on the 12th. Not Todd. So, should I just call you, since you're not Todd, I'm going to call you Brian. Okay, Brian? So, Brian. The most recent update included a ton of optimization that was causing drain and, poor performance around load times. Essentially, we have Steam Workshop integration with Dungeon Alchemist for sharing maps and 3D models. And the 3D model integration, while very fun and cool, a lot of the models aren't necessarily optimized as good as Dungeon Alchemist assets and maps are. So they can drastically increase the size of a map. And basically the first iteration of the Steam Workshop with the asset browser, there was some issues with performance based on, the amount of assets you were subscribed to or the size of the asset you might be subscribed to. So like the average Dungeon Alchemist map was 5 to 10 megabytes with hundreds of thousands of assets, whereas some of these models are, 10 megabytes alone by themselves. Here's one for 35. Some are hundreds of megabytes. Now, the most recent update fixed this. There's been a ton of optimization around this to help improve it so it's not as big of a burden on your computer. Granted, the more powerful your computer is, the larger of a map you can make in Dungeon Alchemist. Essentially, it's a direct correlation of your PC specs. So the more powerful the machine, bigger, like a larger and more interactive map with more effects is possible. If your machine is kind of dated or, not necessarily that powerful, you may want to keep your maps smaller and not necessarily animate them that much. So, themes and buildings. We talked about those themes, Urkau, right? The various different, let's say biomes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. If you count the other two, there's 11 total, but let's just say 9 environmental biomes. Let's go to the skeletal plane and check it out. We're gonna do a hills with a lava flow. We're gonna create that. Yeah, no problem, Lionosaur. Hopefully we get that solved very soon. I know that's probably incredibly irritating. So please bear with us. I'm sure a hot fix will be out soon. Azure Forte on Steam asks, by chance, does it have dystopian future style? Looking at starting to run some bunkers and badasses again, which is a Borderlands. I guess it depends on, what type of dystopia. Like right here, this looks kind of like Terminator dystopia, if you will, with all the bones. There's literally just piles of bones as the terrain. Given the workshop integration and the over 4,200 assets there's actually a lot of cross-compatibility for different aesthetics. Using the base biomes offered mixed with assets from DA and assets from the workshop. So just to give you an idea, by the way, there's over 8,900 maps on Steam Workshop, and a lot of them are fantasy themed, but there are some that are like, for instance, Fallout themed. Like here's a wasteland hideout camp. This could very easily work for Borderlands if you maybe got rid of like some of the cars. Pair that with the fact that you can actually import custom 3D models with the asset importer. So if you wanted to, you could import 3D models of all types if you have them available or can make them yourself to really make whatever type of map you want. So you can plug all those assets into the ecosystems available in Dungeon Alchemist. One particular biome you might find interesting, especially as if it's a Borderlands setting. I played a lot of BL 1, 2, 3, quite a bit. And I feel the Badlands setting would feel very Pandora, if you will. Let me check. Let's see, we'll do like a no vegetation, dry bushes. Let's do like a crater. No water. Yes, actually, we offer direct... Not Todd asks, does this work with above VTT? We offer direct export support for above VTT. It's one of the few that we have direct compatibility with. It's listed right there. So I've actually worked very closely with above VTT. And I'm in their Discord. Yep. So here is like a Badlands biome. There's probably a little bit too much vegetation there. Let's just get rid of the vegetation. Badlands is a really fun biome, and it tends to have a lot. There's a mesa. I mean, as you can see, this definitely has a Pandora feel to it, at least parts of it. So one thing you can do is add some snow to any map, you know, that's pretty cool. And like I said, there's different biomes to go between, so there is even a snow biome if you wanted some, like, interesting weather. I really love the snow environment. And then you could throw the snow weather into any environment, but mix it with the snow and it looks like the trees are all covered and stuff. Egg. You know what? I am a bit of an egg because I'm so bald, right? Just like a big egg. You just do this. If you put me in front of a green screen, I'd look like one. So, Brian, do you have any other questions while while you're here? Niso Gloss, thank you for the follow on Twitter. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Yeah, not Todd. So Dungeon Alchemist exports in top-down primarily. So this would be like the view for above VTT. You design your map in 3D, which gives you intricate design detail, but then you export in top-down in an assortment of views. So essentially, let's say you do above VTT. Notice here it says perspective. You have perspective 3D walls, limited perspective 3D walls. Watch these mountains, these mesas as I do this. They kind of flatten out. And then if I do just flat top down, it's completely flattened. So we have a limited 3D perspective that makes it feel more immersive and detailed. You can choose a lot of different details, but if you are exporting for a virtual tabletop, I would recommend leaving the grid off. You can turn the grid on, but virtual tabletop tools have very good grid tooling in them. You could set the space to 5 feet for D&D, set the grid color, set the transparency, set the bar width, all sorts of stuff within the virtual tabletop. I know Above VTT offers that kind of stuff. Hey Stormy, welcome, welcome. I'm doing great. Alrighty. So let's look at some other types of things you can do. You also have lots of room types that you could generate. So Dungeon Alchemist uses procedural generation, so essentially last-gen AI. The AI, by the way, is developed entirely in-house. We train it in-house. There is no data scraped from online, no maps, no art, no assets. None of that is scraped from the internet to train our AI. So everything, all our assets are made in-house by a talented team of artists, and our AI is developed strictly in-house on our own data sets. So now that I've got that out of the way, you can use the AI to generate environments rapidly, as we've been discussing, and also rooms. So I'm going to generate another environment really quickly. Let's go to the desert. We'll do dunes, and we'll do an oasis, like that. Turn off the snow. So you could kind of guide the AI with just some basic instructions and generate it. Azure, yes. Yes, it does integrate with Above VTT. With that, it includes walls, windows, doors, lighting, etc. Token, not token, but the tokens can move around through that environment and they get all the line of sight data. Yes, so Bruno over at Twitch just asked, hi, I can make multi-layer mask in Fantasy Grounds Unity, like I saw in Mage Tower? Yes, it's possible, but you would want to do each level as a new scene. So you would export each level individually as a new scene and then set them up as scenes in Fantasy Grounds. And I believe there are plugins for Fantasy Grounds that if your players go to like a stair or a ladder, it will trigger the new scene automatically. Foundry and Roll20 has stuff like that. I'm not 100% on Fantasy Grounds. So, Brian in Steam, essentially you can generate maps on the fly if your players throw you for a loop, if you have a bunch of content planned, or you can look in our repository of nearly 9,000 maps that are shared by our community. There are amazing, beautiful maps on the Steam Workshop, all available for free. So you can either make maps, using the AI in moments, download maps from the workshop, or you can spend hours and hours building maps by hand. For instance, I personally have, spent over 2,000 hours map making in Dungeon Alchemist. Let me show you what I'm actually working on right now, so you can see something. I actually have done, I'll show you, Bruno. I have a map that has multiple floors on one, and it's quite cool. I'm designing it that way so eventually I can pull it apart and export each level. That's my plan. Let me show you. Okay, so this map here is a map I build I've been building every Monday on our streams. Every Monday I host a stream across all our platforms called Map Maker Monday. So I'm building this live to kind of showcase how to do a multi-level map. And what I've been doing is essentially building it floor by floor. This is a wizard tower. Here, let me disable collisions here. So, pro tip, if you go into the object menu and disable collisions, not only does it allow you to put objects closer to each other without that red UI popping up, which would normally be there, right? Preventing you from doing what you want. So it allows you to, put objects closer to each other, merge them together, etc. But it also allows you to raise objects up and down. So I can raise this up and down. and that's part of how I get multiple floors. And it also allows you to scale objects pretty much down infinitely or up infinitely, well beyond the scale limits normally. So what I have done is utilize these functions to my benefit to generate and make a multi-floor structure that is completely navigable. And each floor is designed as a pull-apart. I've done this so I can pull it apart, and every object is on the floor of this level. So let's say I delete this. It's very easy to now essentially have each level exported one at a time. Does that make sense, Bruno? So using this methodology, it could all be on one map, but I could just go to File, Save As, and then go Sewer Tower Escape, Wizard Tower Sewer Escape, L3. So this is floor 3, and then hit Save. So I have, every time I pull a floor off and delete it, File, Save As Floor 2, delete, File, Save As Floor 1, have them all in sequence, and then export them all as each new layers. Hey, see you later, Seisu. Have a good one, buddy. Yes, Arctic Gorilla, you can make circular buildings. Actually been able to for a while, only by hand. But if you can now use the AI room tool to draw round and diagonal rooms. We added this functionality on the 12th, actually just a few days ago. Okay, I'm going to refresh this. So we primarily focus on the fantasy aesthetic, but our devs have committed to offering optional expansions once we leave early access and have delivered on all our Kickstarter promises. So we have 5 stretch goals remaining from our Kickstarter. Those will be 5 major updates. They'll be anywhere from about 5 to 8 months apart from each other each, and each one adds tons of functionality. Our next update is going to be fun with objects, which will add multi-floor with AI support, roofing, and a lot more functionality around objects. We're hoping to expand that to include the option to rotate objects on any axes, the ability to group objects together and save that group and copy and paste it between maps or between areas on a map. So Zelda, moving on from that thought from YouTube, by the way, asks about if we're going to offer sci-fi. These paid expansions, these expansions that we'll offer will be paid, nominal fee, but it will include a whole new theme. So like, let's say sci-fi in this instance. You could then, if you wanted this expansion, purchase it, and it would include several thousand objects, probably a few dozen room types, and close to like 10-20 new environmental biomes, all themed around sci-fi. And it plugs right into Dungeon Alchemist and works with the AI, works with all the tools available. So it would be very familiar and easy to use, just an update. You know what I mean? There's talk of cyberpunk, sci-fi, different things like that. Apocalypse, etc. These will be quite a way down the road. For now, we have added the option to import custom assets. If you look at the Steam Workshop tab within Dungeon Alchemist, there is the Browse Asset section, which links up to our Steam Workshop repository. There's over 4,200 assets available for free, many of which are sci-fi, like at least 1,000 of them, close to 1,000, if not more. Or you can import assets custom. So if you have the ability to, say, make 3D models, you could then import them custom. Or if you've purchased 3D models online or supported like a Humble bundle, or you have access to a repository of 3D models, you could import them to use for your local collection. Or if you have the rights to them, like you made them yourself, or maybe it's a Creative Commons asset, you could share it on the workshop as long as you properly credit it. Dungeon Alchemist has great support for Pathfinder, D&D, most fantasy-based tabletop games, but it also leans into like Western, kind of early Victorian, and it's very possible to do sci-fi, Fallout, zombie, all sorts of stuff. Jung Bluth, you know what? I appreciate your enthusiasm. I don't mind at all. Okay, let's make a new map so we can show you some of the building shaping. Let's go to Fey Plain. Let's make a Fey Forest. Killer Cam, thank you for the follow about 5 minutes ago here on Twitch, and about 3 minutes ago, Matthew Loisel, thank you for the like, much appreciated. Okay, so Steam viewers, I just want to remind you, if you have any questions, make sure you click the show chat button just below your Steam feed, and then you can open up the chat and ask away. I know there's a lot of you watching right now, and I want to make sure if you have any questions, concerns, feedback, anything, let me know. Think of this stream as an AMA format related to Dungeon Alchemist. I'll do my best to answer them for you. And that doesn't just go for Steam, it goes for all platforms watching right now. So if you have any questions, let me know. So let's draw, I'm going to make a witch hut over here in this like patch of trees. And let's do this right here. And I'm going to make it a round building to show you all how to do it. So in order to make a perfectly round structure, the structure needs to be divisible evenly. So you can't split a grid square in half to 2.5 feet is what I'm meaning. It needs to be 3 and 3, so it needs to be an equal amount of grid spacing. So a 6x6, you know, a 8x8, 10x10, so on. Even amounts. If it's a 5x5, it can't split perfectly and it'll make an oval, which is great if you want an oval. Then you can pull in towards the center. There. Once that one's in the center, you grab the other, pull it into the center. There's these little dots, if you can't really tell, on the edge of the UI there for the floor plan. You can take that dot and pull out to do like a little bite. You can pull in for round, or if you pull to the side before you pull inward, it makes diagonal cuts. Let's make a nice little round witch hut. You can raise and lower the floor plan. If you look down here at this number, it goes up and down. Alex, at this point, Steam says it'll run through the 27th. So you can at least bank on that for right now. Oh, shoot. I had that floor plan and just destroyed it by clicking on something else. That's okay. Really easy to remake. I'm going to just generate this. So we essentially have a nice little witch hut on the shoreline of this river here in the Fey Plain. I'm going to make it a little bit more whimsical, though. I think what I want to do, go in and change the river. We have this water. I just like the gold for some reason. The Golden River. The Honey River. And then I'm going to change the lighting to night. We'll see how that looks. Now, let's change it to a little bit different color. That looks cool, and so does this. So Zelda asks, have you encountered any feedback with performance issues, aka too many light sources causing lag? So Zelda, let me ask you a follow-up question to that. Do you know what DPI you export at, and how big is the map? Like, how many squares? 60 by 60, 10 by 10? If you could just give me a little bit of follow-up info, I'll try and answer your question. So Foundry as a virtual tabletop does have limitations, both in file size, actually several limitations. File size and resolution, okay? And then they also recommend staying around certain DPIs. These things can help improve performance for you as a DM and for your players. Increase performance with load times and make sure they don't get black screens or things just not working. So Foundry recommends 72 DPI. Switching the browser helped. That can help too. So as it's an online tool, you got to put a lot of things into perspective. File size, resolution, right? And DPI all can vary and make it difficult to load. So when you export for Foundry or any virtual tabletop for any online situation, I actually recommend staying at 72 DPI if it's an animated map. If it's a still map, you can probably go up into 150 DPI. But if it's a still, it's just one image, right? The image size is usually like 5 to 10 megabytes or less for the one image. If it's an animated map, let's say it's a 60 by 60 animated map, 72 DPI, you're looking at maybe 20 megabytes. Double that for 150 DPI, 6-7 times that for 300 DPI. And I'll be honest with you, your players probably will never notice the difference between them, because more often than not, they're just focused on kicking butt and collecting loot. You know what I mean? So the lower DPIs is where the pocket you want to stick to for virtual tabletop. The reason, I mean, the thing is too, if let's say you do a very high DPI with an animated map, like a WebM, right? Like a simple map like this, that's 30 frames per second for 30 seconds as export. That's like hundreds of thousands of frames of data. So the file can be hundreds of megabytes. I've seen these be up to a gigabyte in size. And that's just way over the virtual tabletop size limits. So essentially, lowering the DPI increases your chance of it working in that system and your players loading it effectively. You want that file to be as small as possible. If you're playing local on a TV tabletop or you're printing the maps or something like that, yeah, by all means, export at 300 DPI. But I do think that when you're online, you got to think about use the weak link strategy. You're going to have one player in your group who has kind of maybe an older computer or maybe not a powerful computer, or maybe their internet is throttled or limited data or just not that great because they're in a rural area. So putting all these factors into account, that one player or maybe multiple players may have an issue running these maps, and you want them to enjoy the experience just like everyone else, right? It's all about weaving this experience for your entire table, not just one or two players. So I think the production value is part of that, in my opinion. Yeah, Zelda, I'm glad to help. Hopefully that helps a little bit. But try different browsers. Make sure your players, computers are up to date, and make sure the map is as small and optimized as possible. AD&D Mike, I mean, you could try, and it may work in most cases. Ultimately, it's case by case, and at the end of the day, if it's not working, it's likely that's the culprit. If the map shows up as like you can't load it or it's all dark, that would probably be the area I would pinpoint it. But if you keep your map small, like 20 by 20, maybe 40 by 40 or less, and in most cases, you can probably make it work. And even a 300 DPI map, if you shrink an animated file to say 15 seconds, so half the time, or maybe compress it so it's less size, you might be able to fit it and still get away with it really well. But at that point, like, you're reducing the quality again. Right? All right. Let's generate a few more structures. I'm going to put a wizard tower over here. And I'm curious what this will look like. It's neat. Rotate it a little bit. Give it up. And jump. Let's go back to like a normal light. See what this looks like. The intuitive way to stack is snapping. You know, you let it snap to its natural location instead of forcing it to a location of your choice. Right now, all multi-level is strictly done by hand, so you're going to have to kind of plan ahead of time to accommodate to that. If you're doing everything by hand and by, you know, just eyeballing it, it's going to be off a little bit. So if you rely on the snapping system within DA, it will help you out tremendously. So for instance, this multi-level tower, first off, I'm going to disable collisions in the map, which allows me to move objects closer together. If I'm freely doing this, it's going to be a pain, but if I hold control, notice how it's snapping in, and it just locked right into place there, right above the other one. So the base of this tower, that's the basis of this entire build, was making sure that everything was at a snap point and they're all the same going up. So currently you can't move a room after it's been generated unless it was all objects. Like this is all objects, so yeah, it can be moved. If that makes any sense. So a building like a floor plan, while it's in the floor plan state, can be moved. This is a new feature that was just released on the 12th. You can rotate the floor plan now. You can raise and lower the floor plan. And you can shape it much more freely with rounded, convex, concave edges, flat edges, so you can make round, all sorts of different structures. Our next update, they've already committed to adding the function of moving the room after generation. So each of our updates, remember we are in early access. We are very public about this, and we like to make sure you understand that. Each update is essentially foundational steps towards future updates and features. So, you know, us releasing the ability to move the floor plan will lead to moving the building later, or multi-level later. So our next update, which actually you can follow along our roadmap and see what's going on with that on a website called Upvoty. Let me just drop the link there on Twitch. But essentially, with that upvoting, you can make suggestions, you can upvote other people's suggestions, and you can follow along in our roadmap. Just sharing it with you here. If you look at this page, right here it says planned. That means at some point we plan to tackle these, right? Coming up next, multi-level support with roof. This means we're doing this in our next updates. Drag and rotate room, fun with objects. Does that make sense? So that is the object name, is fun with objects. All of these other features will be part of it. So indoor balconies and open space, stairs going up to have a landing, place doors without walls. This particular stretch goal, fun with objects, separate ambient lighting, indoor lighting. No shadows inside building, which I know is a big, big request. Drag and rotate the room, multi-level support with roofing. So quite a bit will be incorporated into this update. That being said, to address multi-level right now, a few tricks are going to be needed. You're going to want to go into the object panel and disable collisions. That's pro tip number 1. When collisions are disabled, it allows you to merge objects together to make new objects. So if this was on, this wouldn't work. It would give me that red UI saying no. You know, so with that off, I can merge objects together to make new and unique objects. Additionally, this unlocks a couple other secondary behaviors. You can raise objects up and down, and you can scale them pretty much infinitely, either down or up. So you can make giant structures or Lilliputian type structures on the fly. Uriel, thank you for the like on Facebook. Much appreciated, my friend. Much appreciated. All right. So using those behaviors in tandem to my advantage, I build multiple levels. To group objects together, Paradol on Twitch asks, did you do anything to group the level together for that? It's essentially just planning, order of operations. Everything on this floor is on top of the floor, so it all groups together as a single object. That's a behavior that's been in Dungeon Alchemist since, years. Essentially, anything that's on top of another object is for all intents and purposes grouped to that object, tethered to it. You can scale them together. Watch this. And you can move them together, which allows me to take advantage of multi-level in other ways. Now I can take this floor, delete it, export just this level. Delete that, export just this level. If I Control Z, just bring them right back. Or I could save as each level. So if you only use the AI rooms, you're going to have only your first floor. Now that would be a great basis for your foundation of your house. You would use structural objects for the floors beyond that. So you would want to go into the object panel, go to structural. There's an assortment of objects here. Stairs up are fantastic because stairs up can also be stairs down, but they don't latch onto the ground. They're just a free-floating object. Stairs down put these holes in the ground. You don't want that. You just want a stair. So you can put that at any height and use it to your advantage. There are wooden platforms, stone platforms. There's round construction objects, so different towers and stuff. Tech Mario, we don't offer engine exports. We only offer exports primarily for gameplay and tabletop settings. So you can export as a JPEG, an MP4, a WebM file. So you got digital export options there. You can export for virtual tabletops such as Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, Above VTT, etc. Unfortunately, we don't offer 3D export or engine export at this time. That is a good question, though. I appreciate that. So essentially, I mean, let's say you started with a round room with the AI on the bottom, Pterodol, then you would stack stuff like this on top of it. I actually got these floor pieces on the workshop. One of the creators in our community shared a whole collection of round assets, round flooring, specifically fitted to these walls. And there's a collection of them. The whole thing is 78 megabytes, less than 80 megabytes. Comes with several different floor pieces. So you have one that's solid, one with a center hole, one with a port, like a hatch, and one with like a side stair. So there's like a center spiral stair, a side stair. It's pretty cool. My plan, I've done each of these kind of strategically, and I'm going to have the hatch on this last level. Pretty sure I have the hatch in here. There it is. So I'm going to have to line this up and get it over that and then raise it up. And then that'll be the next floor. And then all the walls will be on that. Nerdine, you can thank Steam for that. We have no influence over that. Steam did away with regional pricing some time ago, so it's just static. In fact, that was like, probably middle of the pandemic they did that. I know, it's a bummer. Hey, Andrew, you made the World Serpent Inn? I love it. I love that map. So I actually featured your map in our weekly newsletter here. I love finding cool maps on the workshop, and I feature maps in our weekly newsletter. So, the Cartomancer Chronicles. Oh, they are, Stormy? So, from my understanding, I thought they did away with them. I read an article on it some time ago that said they just did away with it, but I could be wrong. I honestly, here, let's load this up. So Andrew on YouTube said that he made this map, and it's shared on the workshop, so anyone can check it out. So I just downloaded and opened the map. Very great use of round structures. I really love that you did the mirrors at the bar. That was one of my favorite features. I'll have to talk to the devs about it because we were under the impression that it was locked out. You can't change it. So, I mean, it may be something we can adjust, but from my understanding, we could not. But I could be completely wrong, and I'm open to that option. I'm curious how you did this. Oh, those are freestanding walls and you just place them all by hand, huh? That's meticulous. That's some attention to detail. I mean, realistically, what a circle is just a bunch of straight lines, right? Thomas Noak, thank you, or Noak. Sorry if I butchered your name there. Thank you for the sub on YouTube. Oh my gosh, we had a raid on... Oh my gosh, I am so sorry. 7th roll, I apologize for not seeing that raid. I did not see the notification for it, and I am just an ass. I apologize. So if there's anyone still here from that raid, thank you so much for the raid. Much appreciated. Tom's Broadfoot, thank you for the like on Facebook. Much appreciated. I really love the portals, though. Just a great use of the arches. The devs were really excited to add this new feature, and I'm glad you took advantage of it right away. Oh, let's take a look at that. I always love it when the creator of the map points out their favorite thing. Let's see what we got here. Ah, look at that. It does look like it's running. Very cool. Bid. Victorious says, hello, won't stay for long. Wanted to thank you lads for an awesome piece of software. Well, thank you, Victorious. Appreciate the kind words. Much appreciated, and a good days to use. Appreciate the kind words. Thank you, thank you. In fact, you know, just so you all know, we're actually a very small team, an indie team. There's less than 10 people on our team, including myself as the community manager. So all the feedback, you know, good, bad, positive, negative, it's very helpful and we appreciate it. The positive feedback, of course, we love it the most. But Negative feedback helps us grow. So all across the board, we appreciate it. So thank you. When you share words like that, it means the world to us. The mirror is fantastic placement, though. Really like that. Great use of all the new tokens. A lot of diversity, and then I see you use those round assets over here for the hearth and balcony. Looks fantastic. Nice little cover up of the fireplace there. I didn't see it. That's clever. Good use. The bard over here just jamming out. What tune is this bard playing? Is the real question. You got to ask yourself. But yeah, that's the one thing I love about the Steam Workshop is people share, models and maps, and it really just enriches our community as a whole. People see something, they're like, wait, it's possible to make that? Oh, crud, let me try and make that. Or people will, need a map really quickly for one of their, anything in their campaign. And that's a nice, huge benefit. It's a time saver across the board. I really love to say maps in a snap. Which is kind of like a fun little catchphrase I coined to explain that Dungeon Alchemist allows you to make maps in a snap really quickly, if you want to. Alternatively, though, you can roll up your sleeves and spend hours building maps, losing, days of your life if you want to. It can become an obsession. So be careful there. But ultimately, it is a very powerful tool to build incredibly immersive maps that can work with a variety of different systems. I just want to remind you all, if you have any questions while we're live, feel free to ask. This stream is AMA format, which means you can ask questions about Dungeon Alchemist, and I will do my best to address them. I do also want to point out that we are on sale right now for 20% off. Never a better time than right now to snag a copy of DA or give a gift to the DM that you want to get them to upgrade their map game. And remember, Dungeon Alchemist works very fluidly with a lot of different virtual tabletops. It's optional for printing or TV tabletops, etc. In fact, I feel like it's a very complementary tool for any GM. Like a carpenter wouldn't be able to make a cabinet with just a hammer, right? You need a hammer, you need a saw, you need nails, you need sandpaper, you need all these different tools to effectively make a beautiful cabinet, right? So just in that same vein of thought, a GM needs, proper tools to effectively produce and tell their story, weave their story. So, a map making tool can be very useful. Maybe even a couple. I don't even see other map makers as competition. I see them as complementary. Because Dungeon Alchemist has its strengths, and so do other map making tools. So use whatever you think is best for your campaign, and go from there. So here I downloaded a Sea Hag's Lair, which it's incredibly detailed and immersive. Deku says this on Rip Deku Trees on Twitch says, this is sweet, and I agree, it's very sweet. That other guy on TikTok says, I just wanted to say thank you for this software. It helped me a lot. Well, thank you so much. I'm glad to hear it. Do your players enjoy it? That's the main goal, right? Jung Bluth, right? It really is really good. Beautiful. Paradol on Twitch says, I had like 3 map programs I used to use, but now I only use DA because it's so much faster than anything else. I mean, more power to you. Awesome, man. That's fantastic. You know, like, I realize we don't really excel at, like, regional or world-building maps. While it's possible in Dungeon Alchemist, I know that some people will lean on other programs to do that. So, you know, I have no problem stating that fact, and we will work towards making ourselves better and more appropriate for that use. In fact, our devs have committed, saying they want to do, you know, overworld biomes at some point. World Alchemist, if you will. They love the visuals. That is fantastic. I love to hear it, that other guy. Do you share any of your maps on the workshop? I'd love to take a look at your maps if there are any up there. Look, yeah, the whites. Is that a... Gosh, this map is insane. Very immersive and detailed. Deadly, if you will. This is a sea hag's lair. Do you think your players would get into trouble here, or do you think they'd be able to manage themselves in a sea hag's lair? By the way, I just want to remind the viewers across platforms, if you do have any questions, please let me know. Email, I swear I told you there was going to be a sale and you bought it just before it anyway. Remember the last time there was one? Didn't I? I swear that was the case. I'm sorry, but you know what? You've had maps for all this time, right? They would drown in their plate mail. Your players would drown, Asher, right? I know at least one of my players would do something stupid and probably risk the entire party. Zayron, how you doing? Welcome back. How's your campaign, my friend? Just absolutely stunning visuals here. It's a beautiful map. So, Terradol, I mean, you could totally make city maps in Dungeon Alchemist, even relatively quickly. Here, let's just pull up a beautiful city map. This one's 73 by 50. It's a city under siege, and it's got 3 tiers, waterfalls, a castle, hundreds of buildings, and a massive siege engine. Tech Mario on TikTok asks, how long does it take someone to master the tool? That's a very good question. You know, it varies from user to user, but the average user, we've designed Dungeon Alchemist to be very easy and intuitive to jump into and grasp. So most people can jump into it and make their first map in minutes. And it's also designed to allow you to grow with scale. So as you learn and spend more time with it, you'll see more functionality and learn more things. Paired with that, we have a very in-depth wiki full of information, weekly streams across all our platforms several times a week, a Discord server where you can get direct support or ask questions, and a very, very responsive dev team that's constantly, you know, providing support, patches, and of course myself, the community manager, available through these streams and support lines. But we really try to make ourselves available to provide support and guide people, especially when, you know, you're just learning and kind of in the infancy stages of your map making journey, your cartography career, if you will. So if you need help or feel overwhelmed, we're here to guide you. And now we just launched this new update. A whole series of new videos and wiki entries will be coming to complement this update and content with it. I agree, Terradol, it would be nice to make it faster. I'm just saying it's possible. So here, these like structured homes are essentially assets. These are objects. And these were placed, you know, you can just place them all over the map. But if you go to the workshop and go to Browse Collections, there are entire collections of 3D models, right? Like this one's a Hobbit whole collection. There is some that are houses. Go to the second page here. So here's some prefab homes. modular villages. This has tons of roofing in it and just structures. So you can use these to plug in and fill the gaps, especially if you want structures with roofing. So, Rosko Vika asks, is there a website for dropping feature suggestions? Yes, it's on Upvote. On Upvote, you can see our roadmap and suggestion board. Can you do me a favor, though, Rosko Vika? Before you make a suggestion, please use the search function and search, several variations of what you're trying to suggest. So let's say you were like, I want to rotate objects on any axis. Search that a couple times just to make sure it doesn't already exist, because a lot of suggestions, thousands, have been made already on that suggestion board, and many of them have comments and upvotes already directing, attention towards our devs and other community members. So if you make a new one, you're dividing votes and splitting votes, and it actually makes it harder for it to get noticed. So just make sure it's a new suggestion before you create it. That's my only feedback I have. Well, one of our many updates that we have planned, that'll likely be a capstone for our entire project, is called Instant Dungeon, which will be essentially a one-click dungeon. So you just kind of set the size of the dungeon and generate it, which I'm assuming we could correlate that to city generation very quickly. Oh yeah, this map is something else. This map, yeah, it is very, very cool. So Sailor Yugoth made this map. Sailor Yugoth is a very prolific cartographer in our community who likes to push the boundaries of what Dungeon Alchemist can do to its limits, as well as showcase, how it's possible to really take advantage of the functionality and tools within it to do things far beyond the limits of the AI. Oh, gotcha. Well, no worries there, Rosku. Thank you. I appreciate your suggestions, by the way. This here is one of my favorite parts of the map, the waterfall. With the pond there. Hey, Steam, I just want to remind you, if you have any questions about the video here, if you have any questions about Dungeon Alchemist, remember there's chat on the Steam stream. You just hit the little show chat icon below your video feed, and you can join in and ask questions or provide feedback or anything. And another reminder to everyone watching, Dungeon Alchemist is currently on sale for 20% off. Fantastic deal. Let's take a look at a top down here. You can see the scale. This map is also quite massive. I'm gonna go pull up our specs right now. System requirements: Windows 7, i5 650 or AMD Phenom X4 973, 8 gigabytes of RAM, GeForce GTX 450, Radeon 5770, 2 gigabytes of available space. I think that's closer to about 6 now. Actually, that probably needs to be updated. I think our last update pushed that up. Everything else, though, is pretty standard across the board. Now, Dungeon Alchemist is, it's a bit of a resource hog, and the more powerful your computer is, the larger and more in-depth maps you can make. So just keeping that in mind, bearing that in mind, if you have a more powerful rig, your maps can be much larger, more detailed with, effects, animations, tons and tons of objects. So, Boba, I hope that answered your question there. And also, welcome to the stream. So you can, I've seen people build maps with Dungeon Alchemist to, 60 by 60 detailed maps that with 10, 12-year-old computers, but they built it like a small little section at a time, because the more zoomed in you are, the less of the map you're rendering. Think of it as like the flashlight method for rendering a map. While you're zoomed in, you only render that portion of it. When you're zoomed out, you render the entire map simultaneously. So there are some tricks to work around that to allow you to build larger maps with a more dated or maybe a slower machine. You can disable or enable animation. So notice the trees, they sway. So I had those disabled. You can disable them to save a few frames. You can go into settings here and lower your quality from high to low to save, or resolution to save. There's a lot of ways to increase your performance while building if needs be. I'm pretty sure I said 20% off. I don't think I have said that amount there, Stormy. Edward on YouTube asks, Edward Montero asks, I'm building a wizard tower, maybe inspired by someone, and I'm trying to figure out a way to do underwater tunnel. The tower's in the middle of a lake. Any suggestions? Have you considered using the pipe? So if you go to objects and go to structural, down here at the bottom here, there is pipes. And these pipes are perfect for like underwater shenanigans for several reasons. One, they have a top, but you can remove the top. Some of the pipes even have this little grate where you can change what's under them. So water, acid, snow, lava. Oh, Stormy, you're funny. Nope, they get the full program for 20% off. 100% of the program for 20% off. By the way, if you're sitting on the fence about Dungeon Alchemist, you're not sure if you want to buy it or if you want to just try it out, we have a free demo now. We added that on the 12th, so you can now demo Dungeon Alchemist. It's essentially a more limited version of DA with like 1 or 2 biomes, a couple of room types, and a limited object set. But it allows you to play with it and get an idea of what it feels like on your computer before you purchase it. So these pipes, they can snap together. Okay, let's do control there, snap that one together. So this could be your like underwater sewer channel, and you could leave the roof on if you want to for their escape option. That's probably my suggestion of how to do it. And the best thing about these is they also have the hatch. So you can like, it seems like a perfect underwater thing. Yeah, the iron window assets is a great suggestion too. So if you go into, let's see here. Where? Under, I think, mansion. There is these greenhouse assets. So the walls that make greenhouses, I'm going to generate this without objects in there. Just walls, windows, floors, and doors. Right? Go down, put it underground a little bit. Check this one out. This also could be perfect underwater observatory type scenario because it looks like a glass window, right? Or like a, maybe an aquarium. So this could work for that benefit as well and be the underwater. So you have a couple options there, Eduardo. I would either go with the pipes, like I suggested, or go with this greenhouse kind of, cool looking thing. And it just feels like it's an underwater observatory, like a Victorian aquarium or something. You know what I mean? And if you look online at there is some really cool old, Victorian era or middle-aged structures where they would build, there was one in England, I think, where the guy, like a duke, built an underwater, getaway area where you could go play pool and stuff and hang out with his friends. And there is stuff like this, it's regular old school, wrought iron and stuff like that. Anyway, I hope that addresses a few options for you. That's a good question, actually. Let's try that out. What I'm going to do is add some water to this map. We're going to experiment. Oh. Okay. We just flooded the whole map, so we're going to do that. But that looks like it's in the water. That looks pretty good already. So that's a great example, but it's under the water, so it's kind of flooded. The other option, if you do the channel, like we were just discussing here, like the greenhouse, and then put it underground, it won't be flooded, if I'm not mistaken. No, it is flooded. Darn, I thought you could do this without it being flooded. This looks cool. Fine, I'll buy it. Plastic Ghost, I just twisted your arm, didn't I? Welcome to the stream, my friend. My name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, okay? And I'll do my best to address them. It would be cool if we could remove the water from the building and have it independent. But yeah, like it's sandbagged or something, you know? I digress, though. That's just a personal wish list. Let's take a look at a map I built some time ago that I love to just show off anytime I can because I'm so proud of it. That would make sense. Yeah, probably a good idea there. You know what? Let's go look at a new map and try that. So let's do lakeside so we have some underwater to start with, and I'm going to just do a forest, okay? Plastic Ghost, I mean, you picked the right time. We just launched a major update, a very highly anticipated update on the 12th, which added round rooms, diagonal rooms. Essentially, you can move and rotate and raise and lower the floor plan, make it round and diagonal, all before generation. Our map maker offers procedural generation for environments and rooms, so it'll automatically fill rooms up with decorations. It'll automatically generate an environment, as you just saw here. Just saves you so much time. In fact, let's have the community talk about it. What's everyone's feedback here for a new viewer, Plastic Ghost? Let's hear what your thoughts are on this update, so I don't have to brag about it. Love to hear what you think. Let's go to Mansion. We're gonna go to the greenhouse and just try. Okay, I'm gonna generate this first. I'm going to sink it into the ground. Now, the plan is... Nope, it filled it right away. It just overflowed it. Is there a way around this, is the real question. Oh, the roofing is on, so that didn't work. So we'll just have to figure that out in the future. Yep, in the new update, actually, Teradol just asked, is there some way to remove water? We added a little water sponge here. You can click that and go, just, now you've got like a drought-stricken lake, something like that. I love seeing all this community feedback on the update. So, some people put their campaign on hold. You know, others were just so excited for all the new features that there was just a lot of anticipation. The update featured 2 new biomes, 600 new assets, tons of new quality of life features. I mean, it was a massive improvement across the board. 8 new room types. So we got like the witch hut, wizard tower, potion class, artificer workshop, just like a whole bunch of new stuff. So here, as you can see, I'm doing like obloid, a round, you know, you could do like a straight cut on there. Kind of a Pac-Man bite there. Waka waka waka. I guess that's more like a Moon Knight type symbol. Crescent. Oh, I just generated that without anything in it. That's lame. Generated. Much better. It actually has stuff. I like the door in the middle of the crescent, though, so I'm going to move this window for now. Probably just maybe a window on each side of the crescent. That looks so much cleaner. Now we can put a staircase there. So I'm going to go into the object panel, which is the left toolbar there. I'm going to disable collisions first to give me more freedom of movement. Go to structural. Go to stairs. This one here, the driftwood stairs, fits perfectly with this aesthetic. Kind of weird up against the edge there, so I'm going to kind of rotate and scale it and then drop it down so it's around the right height, and then just move it in. Rotate it again to fine tune it. And again, I could even scale some more. And now, perfect fit. That took me just a few seconds to customize. We got this lovely witch hut up on the hill. I love that. Very simple. Let's put a bed in there. It didn't generate one. Add, no, there's like a driftwood. I wonder, like, did that hex puppet just move? I didn't know they move. Woo! Terrifying. Anyway. Let's see. What kind of cool thing can we add to this? We need a bag of teeth. For pretty much no reason. Let's do a flesh table because it's disturbing. Why not? The teeth up on the table. Young Bluth, can you raise rooms without a plateau? You mean without this edge, just so it goes straight up? Or just so the building is floating? Is that what you're meaning? Because it needs terrain under it for the building to sit on it. Now, if you want this to be more straight, you can use the like flatten terrain tool, for instance. And if you pull it in over it, so if you start away from it and start pulling it into it, it'll bring that edge up a little bit tighter. We always do a slight slope because it looks better on the export. Just artistically, it looks better. Yeah, unfortunately, you can't make an AI-based structure float. You can make objects float, though. So you could do like an object-style house and make it float. So if you come in here, so let's say we have I think there is a tent of some sort that floats too. Yeah, the sanctuary tent, for instance, is actually kind of hovering. But you can just raise this up. So objects can be raised up and down if collisions are off, but buildings have to have a foundation below them, unfortunately, at this time. But there are, other tents, for instance. There's like a shed. Where is... Actually, I'll just go. grab it out of here. So there's like this. Uh-oh. I think I might have just crashed DA for a second. Raise all sorts of, buildings up. This one here, it's like on posts when it raises. Small hut that was from the workshop. So multi-story or object, if you raise objects up or use stuff from the workshop, then yes, you can have floating structures. For now, I don't think floating houses or non-foundation, like buildings without a foundation, is not something I don't think we'll be addressing anytime soon. Stormy, thank you for the feedback. Appreciate it. Glad to hear you enjoyed it. Alrighty. I think it's time to wrap up, everyone. I feel like we've been live now for a couple of hours. Let me just double check. Time to dive in. Well, if you have any questions before I take off, now's the time. Make sure you get them in. But yeah, I am very excited for you. So, Giggly Tentacle Monster asks, my group sent me this as it was on sale. Looks really good, but does anyone know if it's all fantasy or could you work for Call of Cthulhu 1920 Cyberpunk? So right now, our primary focus is fantasy. We got our start as a Kickstarter. So we had a Kickstarter with a series of stretch goals that were all reached. And we promised a fantasy aesthetic and a series of updates through those stretch goals. We have 5 stretch goals left. We just launched one 6 days ago called Magic. It was a major update, highly anticipated update. Each update adds themed assets, biomes, new quality of life improvements, etc. All the way across the board. Now, once we leave early access, i.e. deliver on all our stretch goals, our devs have committed to offering optional expansions that are paid expansions. So, I don't know, I'm an old school gamer, and back in the day, games would come out with a really solid game. Like, it was pretty much a very solid launch. It worked really good right out of the box. You'd install it and it worked. There'd maybe be a patch a year or something like that to make it improvements and stuff. And then, after a few years of this game being out, they'd offer an expansion, which was, basically a whole extra game tacked onto this game, right? Think of Dungeon Alchemist doing it like that. It won't be a season pass. It won't be a tiny little add-on that should have been included in the first place. We committed to a fantasy aesthetic at our launch through our early access. Once we leave that, optional paid expansions, thinking maybe $15 to $20, something like that in that range. But imagine doing stuff like Cthulhu, Cyberpunk, sci-fi, modern, apocalypse, etc. And each of those expansions would focus on one of those aesthetics, and it would give a bunch of new objects, probably several thousand objects, a few dozen room types, and a couple dozen environmental biomes, all that plugs into the Dungeon Alchemist ecosystem and goodness. That will be way down the line, though. For now, we have a bunch of tools to empower our community to do supplemental stuff. We have an asset importer, which you can import 3D models of a variety of different types. So you have STL, FBX, GLTF/GLB file support. You can import animated models, fully painted color models, models with light, etc. On the workshop, there is over 4,200 assets that are shared, and they bridge into all sorts of different aesthetics. Cultural, anime, sci-fi, cyberpunk. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands of assets to choose from, and they really do allow you to kind of bridge the gap right now. So you can look through here, see if there's something that'll work for you. Additionally, on the workshop, we have map support, and there's over 8,900 maps. We're approaching 9,000 maps on the workshop. As you could see here, there's not just fantasy maps in here. Like, here is a modern setting snack bar. Okay, this one here is a great example of how you can make modern setting maps. Granted, it is by hand. You would have to, do a lot of this work by hand, but it is possible. And many of the walls, windows, flooring, and things like that work perfectly fine in modern settings. So, ultimately, it is possible. It would be a little bit more work right now branching out of fantasy. I've seen people make starships. I've seen Warhammer 40K. I've seen Walking Dead. I've seen Fallout maps. I've seen all the way across the board. Tian Kruger, I literally use DA prepping for all the games I run. That's awesome. Between the AI and the community creations, it's so easy to create stuff. Thank you so much for the kind words, Tian. Appreciate you. How are you doing today? Let's see here. Eon says, I've been having issues with the curves. Is there a way to change the depth of the curve? What kind of issues are you having particularly before we expand upon that, Eon? Okay, Caillou, how you doing? Welcome back. Even the base assets can mimic semi-modern areas. And yeah, a lot of our base assets can lean into semi-modern, or even like Western or Victorian stuff. Steampunk pretty well as well. Terradell, have you tried running DA since the update? Because it should improve performance with workshop assets. Granted, if you have, over half the collection available, you might see some, load time issues. And Giggly Tentacle Monster, yes, a lot of objects in Dungeon Alchemist, you can insert custom images, paintings, documents, books, wine bottles. You can even insert custom flooring into blank floor tiles, stuff like that. So you're probably not making flat diagonals then, Eon, is my best guess. So I'm going to use just a cabin room type here. And I'm just going to make a quick keel. Raise this out of the water. So when you pull on this dot, you see the round, right? If you pull out, it's a bite. Pull to the side, it's diagonal. So now you get that nice, like, kind of point shape, or like a trireme-ish. Now remember, if you're making a ship, you're still doing it quite early. We plan to have a whole update dedicated to shipbuilding called High Seas. So right now, you're tackling something that isn't quite fully supported. So keep that in mind as you do it. But I'm going to probably do a bubble rounded back here. I'm going to rotate this and maybe just put it adjacent to the ship over here. Yeah, I have some videos coming out soon that'll walk through the walls and how to draw them correctly. Oop, let me undo that. I'm going to generate this without windows or doors, and we'll get rid of the object generation as well. It's just above. We want it like right on the edge. Still right above. Let's get it just... Let's see if that puts water in it. Huh. So essentially this here gives us kind of a free-floating ship shape. I would probably do ship design in our green screen biome if I'm being straight up honest. Here, I'm going to turn my camera off because it is going to get bright and it'll probably not work. And I'm just going to warn you, if you have photosensitivity, the green screen biome is very bright, but it is optimal for making ships. Let's do this really quick. In fact, if you're focusing on interiors, dark parchment or green screen is the way to go. Let's just do dark parchment to start, and we'll flip over to green screen. So if you pull the dot to the side before you pull inward, it makes diagonals. But keep in mind, the geometry can't split a cube in two. So you have to find a point where it's the right amount of ledges to meet in the middle. So it has to have evenly divided geometry. Now, when you get to the back of a ship, though, you can have like a deck and other things too that isn't quite, you know, the same. Round off the back here, it looks neat. Alternatively, you can just leave this square or make it diagonal too. Maybe. Yeah, that won't allow it. Not enough room. So, one thing I always try to point out, Eon, is remember, you don't have to make the exact representation of the image you have or an example. Remember, you as the GM, the World Weaver, can make loose interpretations of things with the tools you have at hand. So if you're struggling to make the exact shape, make a unique shape. Make a new shaped ship. Alternatively, if the ship options in the builder available in DA aren't working to your liking, so let's say, you know, the shipbuilding options with, you know, the very limited shipbuilding options I might point out with the tools available in DA, you can go into the asset importer and look at ships. So I'm going to just search ship. There are quite literally, several dozen here. Boat also gets a few more. And they expand, you know, your choices exponentially. Pair that with the option to import custom 3D models. So if you find a 3D model online that you like, you can import that and use it instead. So you have a lot more choices instead of just building one. But let's say you did build one for, you know, for argument's sake. If it were me in your situation, Mitch, this runs on Mac OS just fine. We run on Linux, Mac, and Windows. Perfectly fine. Let's see here. So one thing I will like to point out, Eon, is as GMs, we are cursed to be detail-oriented. And it's a double-edged sword. It's part of the reason we became GMs in the first place, is we love the little minutia, the details, the lore, the story, all of the details, right? And we spend tons of time weaving and crafting this world for our players. And more often than not, those details will be skimmed over or missed. So at the end of the day, remember, just don't break your back over details that, you know, you can change as the World Weaver. You could say, yeah, this is what the ship looks like. You know what I mean? So yes, over at YouTube, we have a question. Pits. Eduardo Montero asks, pits will be updated to have diagonal and round rooms too. Eduardo, pits were a stopgap measure to help accommodate multi-level until multi-level is addressed. So by the time our next update rolls out, the pits will be outdated, essentially, no longer useful, and it won't matter. You'll be able to just do below ground stuff. And right now, by the way, if you want to make a room below ground, you can. It's quite possible. Let me hurry and flip this to the green screen biome, just to point out what I was going to earlier. If you export this like this, then you can put it into, say, Photoshop, quickly remove the green background, or you can alternatively superimpose different backdrops into the green area, such as clouds, astral sea, waves, etc. Put a few cannons in here so you can kind of get the idea of what I was going for. Hammocks up here. Boom. That's like, you know, below deck area. Honestly, though, Eduardo, if it were me in your situation, just make a below ground room that's round or whatever shape you want it to be. You don't really need pits anymore. You have rooms below ground now. So let's go to forest. Yeah, David Bolivar on TikTok says, I didn't know there was an asset importer. Awesome. Yeah, there's a 3D model importer. There's been one for about a year now. We actually have a wiki entry on it that gives you direct guidance, and there's tons of information. But if you have any 3D models on hand, or you have the ability to make your own, you can import them custom into Dungeon Alchemist. You can essentially place an asset into DA, set its object information, the name, keywords. You can set the categories it'll show up in Dungeon Alchemist object category. You can set the colliders for the object, and you can keep it local or publish it to share it. So you essentially all across the board have options. So yeah, if I were in your situation, I would just pick like a room type and then put it underground, you know? Particularly like crypt or something like that, and then just sink it down, right? And that's your underground, your basement area now. And you can always bring the walls of this terrain right up to it. Turn this brush up so it's more. So you could really seam that rock right up to the edge of the wall. Smooth. Too hard. But notice how it's a lot tighter up against the edge of the wall instead of like a big slant. I do this when I do rooms in caves, for instance, because I don't like that big slant above the wall. I like it more crisp cut. That's personal preference, though. A nice thing, too, about this, let's just say you don't want this room there, for instance. You could take this room and just delete it, and now you've got this beautiful cut of ground. So you have a natural pit again. You can use the different terrain paints to make it rocky. You know, different rock types. So do like that. So you get the gist of what I was kind of going for there. But yeah, essentially I use the room tool to carve out a really nice clean cut in the ground, like a pit or a canal. Now fill this with water, right? Doesn't that look beautiful? That's a perfect canal, right? You could do this across the whole map if you wanted to. So pits are essentially kind of going the way of the dodo. And you could shape this more freely than you can the pit. Alrighty. Twitch, are you still with me? I haven't seen a peep out of Twitch in like 10 minutes. I want to make sure y'all are still alive. Alright, everyone. I think I'm going to wrap up the stream for today. I had a tremendous amount of fun hanging out with you all, answering questions, providing guidance and insight. Just want to remind you before we take off, Dungeon Alchemist is on sale. It's 20% off. It looks like it'll be on sale through the 27th. So if you can't pull the trigger today, make sure you try to do it sooner than later. If you need any assistance or guidance, we have a Discord, which you can find through our website, dungeonalchemist.com, which should be available on any of our profiles on these streams. Or there might be a Discord link like on Twitch, etc., different places. The Discord is a great place to get live support. We have a question and support forums where you can create a thread, a ticket, and get live support or ask questions. We have a place to share maps and images. And There's a space where we share announcements and upcoming content so you can see the latest coming out in the Dungeon Alchemist world. I appreciate each of you all hanging out here today with me while we were celebrating the summer sale. Again, my name is Mac. I am the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Dungeon Alchemist is an AI-powered map-making utility available on Steam. It allows you to build maps in a snap or roll up your sleeves and build maps entirely by hand. I do want to remind everyone that our AI is built entirely in-house. No data from the internet was scraped to train our AI. We built the data sets and trained it entirely in-house. And it is not like generative ChatGPT Midjourney AI. It is last generation procedural generation AI. Meaning, I don't think it's going to steal your job anytime soon. And it's going to be making your life as a DM much easier. It's the correct way to use AI in my opinion. Ethically, and to save you time and to increase your output as a content creator. So with that in mind, Dungeon Alchemist is available on Steam, and it works with Windows, Mac, and Linux OS. We offer Steam Workshop support with maps. Close to 9,000 maps shared by our community are available for free to anyone who owns a copy of Dungeon Alchemist. The Steam Workshop also boasts a repository of over 4,250 3D models that can supplement the already 6,000 models that are included with Dungeon Alchemist, increasing your capability and map, diversity by an exponential amount. I really appreciate you all hanging out with me today, whether you were just lurking and learning, actively asking questions, or, you bought Dungeon Alchemist today as a result of the sale. Appreciate you. Welcome to the DAM fam, as I like to call it. When you save a map in Dungeon Alchemist, it saves as our proprietary file format, which is .dam. It stands for Dungeon Alchemist Map. We joke about that by saying give a damn, damn fam, etc. Damn streams, things like that. So, we lean into that a bit. Anyway, I hope you have an amazing day and enjoy your time with Dungeon Alchemist. Until next time, we'll see you next time I give a damn. Back out. Bye. Bye, everyone. In fact, let's run a little quick ad before we take off. I really am proud of this ad because I put it together myself, and we got the amazing Deerstalker Productions One for All to make it for us. So let's check it out really quick.
You stand before the long, dark road to the fabled realm of Goyak-Ta, and before...
What do we see?
I don't know, a goblin.
I kill him!
But before she does, I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to know the goblin's name.
Hi, my name is Woblin.
Where do you live there, Woblin?
I don't think that's relevant.
Well, but I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to seek the goblin's abode.
Clever, find family, kill entire bloodline. I like it.
Seriously, we're doing this? Okay, well, won't be needing that anymore, will I?
Ever get caught by your players with your pants down? Dungeon Alchemist lets you create wonderful maps for any encounter in seconds.
Oh, Woblin, that's a very impressive cheese collection you've got there.
Yeah, it is quite impressive, yes. But you know what's more impressive? This map I have to the fabled
Realm of Goyak-Ta, please take it and leave. Close the door behind you.
Mr. Woblin, I cannot help but notice that you have a secret tunnel underneath your cabinet. Care to explain?
Download Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered map maker, on Steam today.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for enjoying the stream. Again, my name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Dungeon Alchemist is an AI-powered map-making utility and immersion tool available on Steam. Make the maps of your dreams in a snap, or roll up your sleeves and spend hours of your life building perfectly detailed maps. We'll see you next time I give a damn. Back out. Bye!